quiz, hotshot.
There's a bomb on a bus. If it drops below 50 miles an hour, it blows up. What do you do?
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast's Speed Retrospective Series.
Okay, look, man, we don't have to go so fast, all right? Just slow down a little bit, all right, man? Just slow down.
Hosted by Jacob.
Oh, we got all the balls in the world right here, man.
Stuart.
Sorry, he's highly irrational.
And Arnie.
I love my car.
But be warned, this episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and strong language.
Fuck me.
Oh, darn.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Please, sir, this side of the bus.
Hold on!
Today we're discussing Speed 2 Cruise Control, starring Sandra Bullock, Jason Patric, Willem Dafoe, Tamura Morrison, directed by Jan De Bont. This is Arnie, co-host of Now Playing, and who's ready to partay on the big boat besides me?
I guess Stuart is.
And this is the co-host who wants to be depressed right now, Jacob.
It is very depressing to come off of a speed high into cruise control, isn't it? Oh boy. We go from talking about one of the biggest hits of 1994 to one of the most lauded bombs of 1997.
Although it's funny, I want to reflect on something. Again, I talk about my love of reading, the trade magazines, what's coming out summer 1997. All you would hear about is how Fox, 20th Century Fox, had spent too much money on this boat picture. It was going to kill the studio. And wasn't it a huge mistake that they invested in Titanic? In fact, it didn't even make its summer date. They're going to have to push it to Christmas. What a box office turkey. This movie cost just as much money, and nobody said boo about it. Nobody was ever worried that we're spending 5 times the production budget on Speed 2, and it's this movie. And again, this is the thing that sank the studio. It wasn't Cameron. He saved them.
Well, to be fair, Titanic did cost $40 million more than Speed 2, but Speed 2 did go way the hell over budget.
Yes. I mean, again, it wasn't like this one was a sure thing. I guess the thinking is you're making a sequel to a hit, so of course it's going to make money. James Cameron is making an artsy period film where everyone knows the ending and no one will want to see it. I guess the thinking was Speed had a built-in audience and couldn't lose because of it. Oops.
Yeah, I've got so many questions about just the production before we even discuss the film, because I did not see this in theaters. I knew its reputation, probably why I've never seen it. And here's the thing. When I watched Speed week before this, about halfway through, my wife walked in. She knew what Speed was, had never seen it, watched it, loved it so much. She's like, we need to watch Speed 2 immediately. I'm like, that's going to be a bad idea because I never heard a good thing about it, even though I've never seen it. But she was so excited by Speed. She's like, no, we got to watch this right away. But this is my first time. And after watching it, was this even developed as a Speed movie? This feels like a rom-com that they're like, hey, let's throw Speed at the beginning so we can market it as a sequel to that really popular film.
Yeah, I didn't see this in theaters despite how much I loved Speed. This one had a stench, right? I mean, just all around it.
I mean, no Keanu right away. That's a warning sign.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Stop with the Keanu. It wouldn't have helped.
It 100% would have helped.
Yeah, actually, I agree. It would have helped.
To get people in theaters, I think so.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have helped some.
And I think it actually would have helped the chemistry in the movie. It might have changed this movie from an F to a D, but it would have helped a little.
No, but to get people in the theater, to me, your star's not returning, that's bad. That's not a good thing.
Well, what's also not a good thing is you're calling it cruise control, which is the opposite of going fast. And then you're putting it on a boat, a cruise ship, which, all right, I took my first cruise last year. You may feel some velocity when you're on one of those boats, but they're not known for careening around and being crazy fast.
I'm not looking forward to getting adrenalized by a cruise ship Tokyo drifting.
Yeah, so I did not see this film. I did catch it when it hit video, though. When it was a new release, I rented it, and my worst expectations were lived up to.
Oh, well, here's the thing. I did see this movie probably decades later as part of a bad movie club.
That's where it belongs.
I like bad movies. So because it had this terrible reputation, I watched it and remember quite enjoying it, particularly Willem Dafoe and the leeches. That's all I could have told you, was that like Willem Dafoe has this jar full of leeches that he keeps throwing on himself. I guess I'll just go ahead and stop the hate party and say I've never had bad sentiments about Speed 2. I remember it being quite entertaining as a silly movie.
I look forward to your explanation because the silliness just goes, you already brought up Willem Dafoe, like copper blood poisoning. Can't wait to discuss it.
Now, Keanu. All right, let's start with Keanu. What was he doing that was so much better? Chain Reaction? Devil's Advocate? They weren't hits. I mean, they weren't big hits. It wasn't like he stealthily navigated a great career.
Here's the thing. The studio had signed Jan De Bont to do a sequel to Speed when he got the original Speed.
Before it was released. He
Yes.
just had to do it. And they weren't even necessarily thinking they would make a sequel, but if they ever did, he had to be the one to sit in the director's chair.
Correct. However, they did not do the same for Keanu and Sandra Bullock.
Right.
And again, I mentioned last podcast, Keanu had to be convinced to do Speed. He didn't really want to do an action film necessarily. And then he did a couple more after Speed. And so when he was approached for this, they offered him $12 million, which was a huge payday for him at the time.
It's a big one now. I mean, I'll take it.
And he didn't do it for two reasons. The first is he wanted to move away from action, and it was a choice. They were filming at the same time, Speed 2 or Devil's Advocate. He wanted to go work with Al Pacino instead of come back to this. But the second thing is, they gave him the script ahead of time, and he was like, hell no, he did not like the script.
See, he's smarter than you think, Stuart.
I didn't say he was stupid. He projects the image of a dumb surfer boy. And, I mean, again, I think it's worked for him. That is a smart calculation that he's maintained a career by being a doofus.
But let's face it, it's funny to me. I mean, it is literally laugh out loud funny that the only person who wants to be on screen here is Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe signed up because he wanted to do a big budget film. He wanted to play a villain. He was looking for this kind of role. But Sandra Bullock, she also didn't like the script. She did not want to return. The reason she returned is A, $12 million, huge for her. Remember, she was not famous before Speed. But B, they agreed to make her passion project Hope Floats. So she did this in order to get Hope Floats.
Double tragedy coming out of this film's production.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and she had hits. I mean, it's worth pointing out that she had navigated her career well after Speed. I'm not saying they're good movies. They were hit movies. While You Were Sleeping, A Time to Kill, The Net. It made her, I would even say, eclipse Julia Roberts in terms of star appeal by this point. She would have been big enough to be the star of this film.
She is top billed.
Well, of course. I mean, no one knows who Jason Patric is.
Well, even Jason Patric didn't want to be here.
No shit. I mean, you could just look at the performance and see that.
It's all clicking now.
They were looking at a lot of actors to replace him. The person who I think is interchangeable with Jason Patric, they thought about Billy Zane.
Very different in my mind. Maybe in look, they have the same kind of dark broodingness to you, but I think of Billy Zane, particularly because of Titanic, as being a mustache twirler and kind of a campy, funny, silly figure. Jason Patric, just to help people out, has largely done gritty indie work. Like, no fun. There's no Bill and Ted on his resume. He makes things like Russian Narc about drug addiction. Geronimo about the plight of the Native American. Sleepers about child sexual abuse. Your Friends and Neighbors about a misogynist sex addict. Like, where is the party in all of this? How is this man going to put on a Hawaiian shirt and dance to UB40 on a cruise ship?
Yeah, well, when I think of Jason Patric, there's one movie I think of and only one movie, and that's The Lost Boys.
And he's not what you think of. If you were looking for Bill and Ted, you're looking at the Coreys, and he's their sour, brooding James Dean wannabe brother.
Yeah, the brother you don't remember.
Truthfully, when I think about the fun performances in The Lost Boys, it is not him. He is too brooding and too dour in that film. It's not even the Coreys. I mean, let's face it, it's Kiefer Sutherland who makes that movie what it is. But, you know, apparently, again, there were a number of names they went down. John Bon Jovi, we talked about him as the Crow. Now we're talking about him for Speed. Patrick Muldoon from Days of Our Lives. Christian Slater.
They got all the money for this huge sequel. They can't get a real person?
So Jason Patric only agreed to this because he wanted to make Your Friends and Neighbors. And so as a result of this, he got to make that wonderful film. I can't recommend Your Friends and Neighbors highly enough. Absolutely love that Neil LaBute film. So I almost can recommend Speed 2 just because it was made to make Your Friends and Neighbors. But yeah, they go with Jason Patric because Sandra Bullock wanted to work with him ever since seeing a 1990 movie, I don't know, called After Dark, My Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a noir film. It's, guess what? He plays a brooding drifter and people kill each other. Again, Keanu Reeves is goofy and silly and has the energy that kept Speed floating on air. Jason Patric is weighty and dark and dour and never has any fun. I think it's hilarious that they stick him on this boat with Sandra Bullock and she's trying to pretend like it's the same thing. De Bont, it should also be said, he got Twister out of this. He made Twister before this film. We're covering it next week after as a build up to the new movie. But, this was the, all right, if I have to, but I'm going to do my big hit Hollywood film follow up first.
And this, you notice, Jan De Bont gets a story by credit here because this was his brainchild. You said, Jacob, was this a rom-com that they grafted Speed onto? No, they had a number of ideas for what Speed 2 could be.
You should have picked another number than this one then.
Jan De Bont was having a recurring nightmare about a boat crash, and so he ended up deciding that's what this one should be around.
If you dream of disasters, don't turn it into a film.
Well, here's the thing. It is a disaster film. And I argued this about Speed. Speed was not an action movie. It was not Die Hard on a Bus. It was Airport with the wings cut off. And this movie is coming out in a decade it was a full-on revival of disaster films.
I mean, we're doing Twister next week.
Yes, twisters and meteors and earthquakes and volcanoes. All the time there was a natural disaster, now done with the spectacularness of CGI.
Sometimes twice in two different movies that had to compete against each other.
How do you compete? What should they have done? I mean, isn't the failure saying that we can do it again, period?
Yeah.
That you can replicate that one-off kind of high concept. I mean, they did it with Die Hard 2, and they made even a winking joke at, like, how can the same thing happen to the same guy twice? I guess Bruce Willis can turn to the camera and smile, and we'll accept that, and we won't accept that from Sandra Bullock.
I was waiting for Sandra Bullock to do it. She never does it. That's the problem.
Yeah. Tone seems to be a little bit different because they've made some of the new choices that they have. And because I guess people aren't having as much fun, aren't as invested in making this thing work as well.
Do you know what other ideas, what other vehicles they could have put this on?
I mean, name one, right? I mean, my guess is that they looked at everything from a hot air balloon to a lunar, landing. It could have been anything.
Both sound better than this.
Really? You guys are that hard on this movie?
A cruise ship, look, all I'm saying is...
Who doesn't want to see a cruise ship get it?
Yeah, but Stuart, you're coming from this mentality disaster film. I'm coming from the mentality, I just watched Speed, an action film.
Okay.
I want to go fast. Cruise ships do not go fast. I'm thinking of The Last Jedi with the slowest chase in cinematic history going on. Like, how are you going to make this exciting?
Yeah, I agree with you, Jacob. According to Wikipedia, it actually says... hundreds of ideas for a sequel were sent to Jan De Bont. Hundreds. I think you could have put those in one of those lotto ball spinners and just picked one at random and done better than the movie we're going to discuss tonight.
Maybe, or maybe all those ideas were made into other action movies. I feel like, again, look at the 90s and everything from the Earth's core, like, sucked people inside. We love the fact that we had the technology and Hollywood was greenlighting the budgets that made disaster movies spectacular again. No longer are they just, like a toy boat in a bathtub. Like, they actually, again, you see it. They spend $170 million on this thing, and I dare say you can't see another movie from the 90s that has this level of destruction.
Sure, and if this was just cruise control or something, maybe I'd have a different view. The fact that you're throwing speed on there, it does come with expectations.
Yes, and it should just be said, the hate came fast and furious. The thing, it made its production budget back. Thankfully, mostly because of international audiences. I think it only made about $50 million at the summer U.S. box office, but it got another 100 or so abroad. People really like Sandra Bullock in France, I guess.
But that's still a money loser for the studio if you just break even worldwide.
Of course. But it wasn't the stinker of the year. When you look at the Razzies, it was nominated for a lot, but it had to compete against Batman and Robin, and the true winner, the one that they wanted to take down, Kevin Costner's Postman. So I think it's crazy Jason Patric is not even nominated for Worst Actor.
Not nominated?
But Bullock and Dafoe are. Like, that's so nuts to me.
I mean, all three should be.
No, Dafoe is a saving grace here. We'll talk about it, but he's a shining beacon in the night.
Yeah, I love what he's doing in this movie, but it only if one's the right word, it only garnered one statue, Worst Sequel. And I guess that's understandable. If you loved the movie last time and wanted to have the same experience, well, let's talk about it.
Arnie, give us a plot.
Sandra Bullock's character Annie is going on a cruise with her new boyfriend Alex, played by Jason Patric. Alex hopes the romantic Caribbean getaway will be a good place for him to propose. Their cruise liner is hijacked by disgruntled software engineer Geiger, played by Willem Dafoe.
Love it.
Arnie, have you had your copper levels checked? I know you program like you're in real danger.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
I mean, I got a phone in my pocket all the time, a mini computer. We're all in danger of copper cancer.
Why do you think I have leeches on me right now?
Yes, I am investing in leeches futures in the stock market. Like, they're going to be big because we all have these mini computers killing us.
My nurses!
Geiger developed the software for the cruise ship, but his sitting at a computer for so long gave him copper poisoning. With only a few years left to live, Geiger decides to take control of the ship so he can rob the multi-million-dollar jewel collection that's on board.
And don't you want him to put on all the diamond rings and necklaces and just sashay around going, I'm pretty?
Well, he would do something similar in Boondock Saints.
True.
Geiger kills the captain of the ship. He then gives the first mate, Giuliano, played by Tamura Morrison, 15 minutes to fully evacuate the ship. But one lifeboat is unable to lower, leaving a handful of passengers and employees on board. Among those still on board are Alex and Annie. Much to Giuliano's frustration, Alex insists on inserting himself into the boat operations and trying to catch Geiger. Geiger has taken full control of the ship and has it set on a collision course with a cliff. And if we're doing the trolley experiment, that would have been the happy ending. Alex and Giuliano succeed in turning the ship, but it eventually crashes into St. Martin, causing massive destruction.
Like, destroys an entire economy, no longer a tourist location.
It's amazing. Recommend. I'm just going to go ahead and say recommend for that damn scene. Amazing.
Yes. They built a boat and then crashed it into a giant set.
During the boat crash, Geiger has taken Annie hostage and escaped. He goes to a seaplane with Annie and the jewels, but before he can take off, Alex arrives on a speedboat. Annie throws the jewels out of the plane, and Alex saves Annie, with them both jumping into the water. And Geiger crashes his plane into an oil tanker, which causes a massive explosion, killing the software engineer. In the aftermath of the fireball, Alex finally proposes to Annie, who accepts the proposal as credits roll.
As we start, they're going to do what they can to try and tell you what you're watching is the same experience. Right from starting with the same way that Keanu entered flying in the air, his wheels never touching the road. We have, I guess, look-alike Jason Patric. I don't think they look that much alike, but maybe we aren't to notice that this brunette is not the same star. It will take a long time before we get a close-up and before it gets established. We will have Annie explaining to Tim Conway, better known as Dorf, I think by this point, doing those golf videos on his knees, but here playing as a DMV driving test instructor.
Yeah. It was important to Jan De Bont to very early on, before we saw Jason Patric, to have Annie explain to us that her relationship with Jack didn't work out. Now, it's absolutely no surprise, of course, this movie was written for Jack and Annie.
No shit.
And rewritten to introduce this new Alex. But yes, Annie had said twice in the last film that relationships under extreme circumstances don't work out, and we're going to find out here as she's talking to Tim Conway. It didn't work out. He gave her pepper spray as a birthday gift, and she sprayed herself thinking it was perfume.
I thought it was a funny line. She went to the ER because she sprayed pepper spray on herself thinking it's perfume. That made me laugh.
I thought it would have worked better if she just said the line and then, yeah, it didn't work out because intense things don't. But my question is, like, is Annie... Before, like, okay, she had a lead foot. She lost her license because of speeding. I didn't think... I mean, she capably drove that bus. I didn't think she was, I don't know, had some like mentally handicapped issue where she cannot drive or something. Like, I don't know, Stuart, you seem to be into this for more of the humor, and I definitely think this leans way more into that humor.
Oh,
like,
yes.
Does all these antics, like, you loving this?
This is a better movie than Speed for me.
Of course you say that.
I enjoy Speed 2 better than Speed because it is even bigger in its destruction and even more 70s disaster movie stupid in all the choices that it makes. Watching, Sandra Bullock take $12 million to play this ditz who can't even pull out of a driveway without causing major traffic accidents.
Yeah, she had lost her license for speeding, we were told in the last film, and now she can't even drive. Is she suffering PTSD because she had to drive that bus?
Was it suspended so long she's forgotten how to drive?
But yeah, that anyone would say this is better than Speed 2 is fucked in my thoughts. I can't even comprehend.
Well, you can. You can, and it's really easy. I don't think Speed is a great movie. It's a silly time. This movie is sillier than Speed. We all agree this, yes? This is much sillier than that silly movie last week.
Not in intentional ways.
Yeah, well, who cares about intent? I mean, you can't ever know what is intended. What ends up on screen is what's up on screen. Whether it's done by idiots or masters of comedy, I laugh a lot in this movie, and it starts right here.
Oh boy, I do not laugh once in this movie.
But you're mad. You're mad because they ruined something you thought was adrenalized, intense amazement.
That a large portion of the world thought that it made a ton of money.
Yeah, I'm just saying, so that's why you're going to hate, and this thing has a 3.7 on IMDb score, but the truth of the matter is, this movie's got destruction galore, and it's got laughs galore. For sure.
It's got destruction at the end. I would not call this, that's one of my problems with it. I'm waiting for some kind of action sequence to start throughout this film.
It's right here. Jason Patrick is chasing a laundry truck, I think, or an ice cream truck.
It looked like an ice cream truck to me.
Yeah, I thought it was ice cream.
I'm not even sure, but it's full of boxes of electronics that are falling out that he's having to dodge. You're not laughing? This is not funny to you?
I will give this film probably the only compliment I'll give it. Well, there might be one other later on, but I think this motorcycle chase is excitingly filmed. I think Jason Patrick's stunt double can ride that bike really well. I think the swerving and the movement is taking me back to the things I liked to watch Keanu doing in the Jaguar, catching up to the car in the first film. This is as good as it gets.
I mean, but it's stupid. I mean, don't tell me this is exciting. It's stupid to see him chase this striped, stupid little truck with the boxes of VCRs falling out the back of it.
Yeah, no, it is stupid. It's not shot the same way. It's not as adrenalized, not as exciting. I agree. It's stupid, and that's not a good thing. They're not replacing what they've taken away from the original Speed.
Yeah, and it's important to recognize you were getting adrenaline off that last movie, and I never felt that. I never got excited by the movie last week. I was amused by the movie last week. It's some kind of farce that as she's ruining her driving test, he's chasing after whatever this guy did, and who knows. And then wouldn't you know it, they all crash together, and it feels like a Smokey and the Bandit movie.
Yeah, no, I did know that was going to happen. I'm like, if this happens, like, what is this awful sitcom level humor that, like, yes, they're going to cross paths, and that's exactly what they do.
And relationship over, because he has been dating her for a period of time now. I mean, it's got to be a while if he's getting ready to propose. And he has led her believe, possibly even gaslit her, into thinking all he does is ride a bicycle at Venice Beach, and he's that kind of cop. And not an action junkie. She has talked about her relationship with Jack and how she didn't like action junkie Jack. And here he is doing the same kind of things Jack does. And he is just wannabe Jack. And so she should immediately dump him, not agree to go on a cruise with this liar.
And she should apparently date David Hasselhoff because she wants to date Baywatch. Her excuse is, I was jaywalking at the beach and I thought that he was just a beach cop. And so to find out that he works for Joe Morton, Mac, the very guy that is Keanu like here at the Sting? Like, is Keanu still employed? Did he die?
They do call out that he's SWAT this time. They make it clear. I had that question in the previous one.
They broke up, but was there, like, what? Did they not speak? Does Jason Patrick know Keanu because they have the same boss? They go on the same assignments? Like, I don't even know. Wouldn't it be funny if he ripped off the mask and it is Keanu at the end? Like, I don't know. Like, this is, again, it wouldn't even matter. You're talking like this is a relationship built on lies. This is a relationship of energies that do not pair well together. This, like, sweaty, like, angry, got, like, grumpy man is going to pretend that he wants to go on a cruise with Sandra Bullock. I don't even need bad things to happen. That's comedy in and of itself.
Yeah, this couple, see what you want about Keanu? He's this, like, blank slate. You can project yourself onto him. That relationship, this one, like, I don't like Jason Patrick's character. And Annie, like, she is just going to complain the entire 2+ hours of this. Here, we're going on a cruise. Free cruise tickets. I'm mad. I hate it.
Right. I know. You're so mad that after just totally destroying half of LA with your driving test, you're going to be able to step away from all of the legal ramifications and go on a, trip around the Caribbean. Yeah, poor you. But of course, he's just using this as, again, he's not having any fun. He doesn't want to put on the Hawaiian shirt. He doesn't like this reggae stuff. He's sitting there the whole time holding a ring. You say he's known her a long time. I just think that this guy gets serious and he doesn't know how to relax. So I met a girl and I've got a ring. Like he seems like that guy. And instantly, like, they get on this boat, she goes to pick up some cocktails from the bar, like, elbows into Willem Dafoe, and he's jealous. He's like, how could you talk to him?
Well, there was a cut scene. There was nothing on the Blu-ray, but if you go to YouTube, there are some cut scenes of this film. I noticed on just a quick cut, when you see them riding the little boat to take them to the cruise ship, Annie was sitting right next to Willem Dafoe. And then later on, when they're going to their cabin, their porter is going to run into Willem Dafoe. I'm like, why is Willem Dafoe everywhere? Well, it turns out Annie was talking to Willem Dafoe on that little boat. They introduce themselves to each other and everything. He drops that he worked on cruise ships. So she knew him beforehand in that cut scene, which does help with Alex getting a little bit jealous about the drinks.
Not to me. He's one of those guys, like you talk to another guy, grrr, like, what an asshole.
But one thing I did notice is we're building up to this. I'm like, Dante, here's this guy taking photos, and Ashton, this bellhop that's asking a lot of questions, wants that tip. And so, Stuart, to your point, I'm like, oh, this does feel like I'm writing their names down, unlike those bus passengers who maybe they didn't even have names of that. I don't know, because this does feel more like a disaster movie. I'm like, oh, this little character, they're giving so much time to this photographer. He's going to have some story, and Ashton's going to have some story. And yeah, Geiger, I know he's the bad guy because that's Defoe, but I agree, like, how much Alex flips out over her. Like, I assume you go on a cruise. I don't ever want to go on a cruise. That's not my scene, but I assume you, like, just talk to lots of random strangers.
You did not want to go to Sandals. You wanted to tie her up and, like, drag her to your basement. Like, you're that level of creep.
He is way too serious. He and Bullock, it's so funny to me that Bullock was the one who suggested him because those two have zero chemistry on screen. She and Keanu had chemistry to spare. You said this film wouldn't be any better with Keanu. It would be better if the two lead actors had chemistry together on screen.
Yes.
I mean, again, I think you're hearing what I'm enjoying about the movie. The more that this feels like a corny, ridiculous, melodramatic, not working disaster fiasco. Again, go back. It is my hope one day to go through the Irwin Allen disaster movies, Earthquake, Towering Inferno, When the World Ends. Is that the one with the volcano and Pat Morita? They are really funny movies. I really enjoy how, yes, they have these B-level stars playing these bit parts and doing all of this side drama. Like, to me, this is a comfort food entertainment, much more satisfying than action cliches. I would rather watch a disaster movie than a fake Die Hard.
And see, I'm just coming off of that adrenaline of Speed, thinking this is going to be something similar. It's Speed 2. It's got that same name. And it's a lot of rom-com, a lot of like...
I don't call it rom-com. They're not romantic.
I don't know. I feel like when she's like, are you ready to pate your opening line, Arnie? I'm like, does she do a lot of Speed herself? Like, she just, like, maybe that's how you get through this shoot, but it feels so different.
Meanwhile, the motherfucker is puking in a bucket. No, he's not ready to party.
Okay. This is bizarre. Before that, they're having dinner. You're meeting like all the, again, people who I think, disaster film. These are the couples that are going to be doing funny things as they sink and drown.
Yep.
He's
making out with a deaf 14-year-old girl? Yes.
Leering at a underage girl, and then they're going to cut to Lolita.
Yes.
I guess, I remembered you said this director always throws Kubrick in after I saw this film, but I'm like, is there going to be like a weird... Is Sandra Bullock going to think he's a pedophile and that's going to lead to like rom-com antics?
He is a pedophile! Sandra Bullock don't think that. I think that.
No, I kept writing it down.
Yeah, she got in trouble for grabbing a Mai Tai out of Willem Dafoe's hand. This guy is spending all dinner long signing things to a girl that she can't even understand what they're saying.
Well, and then Drew, this deaf girl, is going to be like, oh, let me take off my jacket so my shoulders are showing and I'm going to run away from my parents. I'm like, is she going to try to seduce? What am I watching at this point?
You are watching a really trashy disaster movie, and aren't you having fun?
I don't want Lolita in my Speed.
You know what, though? I'll take your gambit here, Stuart, and say, let me completely reset my expectations. What if I was just seeing a movie called Cruise Control, and I wasn't associating it with Speed?
I played this game, too.
I did like some disaster movies of the 90s. Spoiler alert for next week, I like Twister as a disaster movie from the 90s. I like Titanic a lot. And so what I'm saying is I can appreciate a 90s disaster movie. This isn't a good one.
No, it's a trash movie. You're not getting the vibe. The vibe is not like this is comparable to Titanic. That's hilarious that, again, Fox was paying the same amount of money for this and sweating bullets over James Cameron's movie. No, this movie is the kind of trash. If you go back to Towering Inferno and you see O.J. Simpson burning up in the building and all that, like, you will be laughing. It is really hilarious to see all of these stock characters and these ridiculous situations.
I guess this is my problem because I played this game. Like, what if this was just Cruise Control and it's just a disaster movie? I'm not expecting anything to go fast at this point. I haven't watched every disaster film out there like it seems you have, Stuart. I've seen a few of those. But I feel like, one, you got to get some like C-list celebrities in here. We had Tim Conway, but he's not on the ship. Like, you have to have those kind of celebrities. I don't feel like we have those characters. The ones we are given, they're not like goofy or memorable enough like I would expect them to be in as a disaster film. Like, I feel like they're trying to do that, but it's just done poorly where I don't care about these other characters.
To this point, I will concede. They are stuck that they have to make this about Annie and fake Keanu. You know, like, that is the problem. If you watch the original Speed, nobody else on the bus really matters. And yes, they throw, Lucy from Twin Peaks in here as the cruise director, and Tamura Morrison. Arnie, I heard you get a little excited at his appearance. He's Jango Fett to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Once were warriors.
He's also Boba Fett now.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to find why it would be exciting to see him. I agree with you. I wanted this to be an ensemble, and unfortunately, I deal with it, but it is very fixated on Jason Patric maybe running off with different people at different times, but you're only paying attention to him and Annie.
No, you're only paying attention to him. One of my biggest disappointments in this film is how sidelined Sandra Bullock is going to be in this movie. Whereas before, she felt like Keanu's partner because somebody had to drive that bus. Here, there's no excuse for a non-police officer to get involved in a lot of action. And long stretches of this movie will go by without Sandra Bullock in it.
Yeah, what action?
But yes, also long stretches of this movie will go by without action. The thing about Speed, it immediately jumped into things. Then there was like 10 minutes of a break as we went from elevator to bus. Here, we're watching Annie and we're watching Alex on this boat. We're seeing, him vomit. We're seeing him flirt with the 14-year-old.
Yes. You didn't take me skeet shooting. This is hilarious to me.
Yeah. You know what? It takes 41 minutes of this 2-hour and 5-minute film before we're going to get to action. 41 minutes. That is terminal. That right there is a not recommend.
No, that is par for the course. If you go back and watch Airport 75 and it takes an hour before the bomb goes off on the plane. That is what you should expect in a disaster movie of that era.
If I like these characters, that 40 minutes would not be an issue. I kind of chuckle when I get a UB40 music video, basically. They do a whole number here.
They're on the boat. UB40's got nothing better to do than get on this cruise ship and sing their song that was a hit 5 years before. The Can't Help Falling in Love, that was from Sliver in 1993. That was not from this movie.
Yeah, way before 97, yes.
They also have some fake Whitney Houston type, who I guess was trying to have a musical career, Tanya.
Yeah, I looked her up. I'm like, oh, is this some 90s singer that I just didn't know about? But no, I don't think anyone knew about her.
Not a hit in America. I can speak to that quite extensively. Nobody knew who she was here, but when they're slow dancing later, she'll try to put a hit jam in here. But yes, this is a lot of build up and to me, a lot of camp. If you appreciate this as comedy, as cliche.
You find this diet talk about fat busters like amusing?
No, when they're actually trying to make jokes, it's not funny. What's funny is the meta reality of like, oh, you're doing this old thing that was so out of fashion. You're right, Arnie. Disaster movies of the 90s are not like this. They don't feel and look like this. But this movie is a throwback. It feels like something from my childhood that I have a lot of affection for. So again, I'm laughing even louder and more often. But yes, what I appreciated about the movie last time was that it was a velocity ride in which nonstop thrills from the minute we jump on an elevator, then yes, it is a slow crawl as we watch Giger, but put golf balls all over the ship. For reasons, I don't even know why the bombs had to look like golf balls.
That's how he smuggled them on.
Yeah.
It's what tips him off.
Let's talk about Geiger now for a little bit, because he is my favorite part of the film. Willem Dafoe going so over the top. He's so bad that he comes out on the other side and is good again.
Of course.
And we've been seeing him put leeches on his body and talking to the leeches and setting up computers and doing all of this. I absolutely love that he's a pissed off computer programmer who got this copper poisoning.
I had to wonder, like, did he take this role because he got it in his contract that he could just do whatever he wants? Because I feel like he just does whatever he wants. And they're like, yeah, you're Willem Dafoe, do that. Because you're right, Arnie, it is so over the top. It comes out the other side as a very enjoyable performance, but it is wacky.
I don't think Willem Dafoe has a career that's that different from Dennis Hopper. Quite frankly, they're both strange-looking dudes that are kind of beloved for just going crazy, right? We want to see them go wild. They can do little art movies. They can do big Hollywood villain roles. They can be in Best Picture nominees. I mean, he was in The English Patient the year before. Best Picture of 1996. Worst movie of 1997. You know, like that is Willem Dafoe's career. And yes, it doesn't matter to him. He can do body of evidence and nobody notices. He will go on and, you know, do his Platoons, his Last Temptation of Christ. He has great and lowbrow entertainment all mixed into his career, and we do not care. It will not impact his career. He will still work because we love seeing him do his bug eyes, his jackal grin.
If anyone can convince me you could get copper blood poisoning from just hanging around a computer too long, it is Willem Dafoe.
Yeah. And that here, even more bizarre, I mean, I guess it could happen. I mean, you do want to protect your medical records.
Nothing in this could happen.
But because the cruise line found out that he was terminal, they decided to fire him.
They don't want to pay his medical insurance. That's going to be a lot.
But not really, right? I mean, I can't imagine that I don't know. What do I know? Yes, let's not debate logic, but that this is the reason why he's going to get back at a cruise liner and attack all of these tourists is because his employer, couldn't go on Cobra? He couldn't get insurance?
If he made an entire navigation system for cruise ships,
right.
Go work for NASA. You can get a job anywhere easily, dude.
Correct.
Except he only has a couple years left to live, so he wants some kind of revenge for that as well. I don't know. I think he's partially disgruntled that his job caused him to have this poisoning.
It did? Are we sure?
Yes.
Yes, hanging around computers is what he says. It gave him copper poisoning.
I mean...
Yeah, he specifically says that the electromagnetic fields in computers gave him copper poisoning, and he only has a couple years to live.
Well, who knows what he was doing with those computers? He might have been doing something that you wouldn't want your body parts touching that part.
Yeah, well, we will all die of copper poisoning. It is for sure going to be my death, because if I'm not programming during the day, I'm editing podcasts by night. So yes, I guess I can also go. Now, this is his motivation, but what the fuck is his plan? He wants to steal jewels.
Steal diamonds? For reasons?
That's even better, yes. I only have a few weeks to live, so I'm going to look like Liberace and put on all the gems. I can't even. Come on, seriously, guys, you aren't smiling. This movie doesn't bring, I guess, all right, I'm trying to understand. You loved adrenaline, so you're not smiling. But to me, this is so much fun.
Willem Dafoe is fun for me during this first part of the movie. I actually put in my notes about 35 minutes in, I care so much more about Geiger than I do about Alex or Annie. I want a Geiger film.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah, and I want him to survive and put on the jewels and go somewhere else.
I want a full nude bath scene with those leeches. Yeah, give me the extended cut.
It's amazing. Yeah, I agree. This is all fun. So that's why I'm not bored. When you're saying you're bored for 40 minutes, he's running around. And again, Jason Patrick is like, he's not watching the Masters on TV, but he likes golf. What could this mean? Hysterical.
See, you wanted the chess player last time. You're complaining Keanu too dumb. Jason Patrick's smart.
Yeah. Again, Batman 66. It is hilarious sleuth work. And again, puts a big grin on my face. All of this.
I wish I was grinning, but at least my frown is relaxing a little bit when Willem Dafoe is on screen. I'm confused with what exactly is in those golf club heads. It looks like a lot of work was gone into this plot.
So stupid. Yeah, right. And again, it could have gotten lost. He's lucky the porter found it and brought it to his room.
They did get lost.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You're lucky you shouldn't have brought in the bombs this way. You shouldn't have done... Again, you don't even really need... Are they smoke bombs?
No, he blows up the radio communication power, so they can't radio out, I guess.
Okay, so there is actual destruction.
But these golf balls are actually just smoke bombs.
Those are smoke bombs to fake fires.
Yeah. I want to emphasize that. In the end, the plan is if everyone looks at a computer, because I guess they don't have any staff on the ship, the people that we meet that are the crew are the only crew on what looks like a 12-deck mega cruise liner? You're telling me no one has the time to go floor by floor and actually check if any of these fires are real? Incredible.
Yes, I laughed in my head, not out loud, about how stupid all of this was. I don't know, Stuart, maybe you're enjoying this, but it's just so dumb. Aggressively stupid.
It's so dumb. I love it. The captain, he puts on, I think he beats up the porter. If the porter for some reason comes into his room and he beats the shit out of him, throws him in the closet and puts on the porter outfit, but is going to pretend to be the captain and do selfies with people.
I thought for sure those selfies were going to come back. I guess it's on film because this is 1997, but why have that scene? I thought Jason Patrick is going to go through their pictures and go, oh, it's Willem Dafoe. I know who the bad guy is now.
Yeah, Jason Patrick's already on to him, and Willem Dafoe doesn't need to be the captain to do what he's going to do. He just needs to sit in his room and hack.
He needs to pretend to be drunk.
No, he just needs to hack. Everything is being done on a computer. And they're dumb enough to have no manpower go and actually check if any of this stuff is legit.
I do love that he pretends to be the captain and selfies with people. Before selfies were ever a thing, these people are long-arming the camera and asking if the captain will take a picture with them. And he's just like, sure. Again, Willem Dafoe is captivating during the opening of this film. I will tire of his shtick, and he will get less to do. But during this plotting phase, he's the only thing keeping my eyes open.
Okay, I guess that's one way to frame it. Again, it's not adrenalized. I'll give you that. We'll meet at that point. This is not adrenalizing stuff. This is camp. This is slow-moving disaster movie setup in which you are laughing at the gall and the stupidity of the way that they're putting this plot together. It's all so much. And yes, for whatever reason, a bomb does eventually go off. The captain was thrown off, bomb goes off, and everything's like falling. And people get trapped they're in a hall with smoke. There's a girl in an elevator. I don't even know why any of this happens.
Because it's a disaster movie, Stuart. Like, this is when it's really telling me, oh, forget about going fast. We just got to have scenarios where people get trapped. Like Drew, who I'm waiting for this whole pedophile subplot to play out. No, she's going to get stuck in an elevator and then get out.
Oh, no, it plays out. Yeah, she ends up, like, professing her love to him when he finds her in the ballast room.
Yeah, it's gross. But yeah, and then these, I'm gonna say it, fat couples, because that's the joke. They gotta undress to block the vents with their clothes. This should be funny. I'm not laughing because maybe you're laughing because it's so bad. To me, it's just bad. It's not playing as funny as jokes so I'm disinterested.
And when they try to do an intentional joke, well, how come she isn't taking off her dress? Because I'm not wearing any underwear. I'm just, again, eye-rolling. The jokes that they're making are not landing.
Yeah, I hope you hear me. I don't think that this is a skillful Jan De Bont comedy by any measure. I think Jan De Bont didn't want to make this movie, and a whole bunch of other people took it, made pacts with the devil, and now they are aping, intentionally or otherwise, a style of movie that had been 20 years out of fashion, that I grew up watching, that is just what I would use to define camp comedy. It is funny to watch this play out in my head. But no, the jokes aren't funny. What they're doing is not funny. It's just funny to see, I guess, Sandra Bullock take $12 million to degrade herself this way. That, to me, is kind of funny.
You're having a real, like, meta experience with this.
Yeah.
That seems to be your enjoyment.
Well, but again, if you watched something as a kid and it went out of fashion and then it came back, I think that you would understand that it would be fun to watch even though it's not trendy. You say she has no heroic moments. They're just so bad, Arnie. She will try to save those people in the hall. I guess the smoke bombs that aren't fires, wouldn't it just be easier to actually set fires? But the smoke bombs that are choking the people that are stuffing their clothes in the vents, they need help getting out of there. So she gets a chainsaw and with the photographer tries to cut them out.
She does the Pulp Fiction thing where she grabs like multiple chainsaws to get the biggest and best one, like Bruce Willis in the pawn shop.
I had to look this up because the reason those people are trapped in the corridor is because fire doors have shut. And those are, extra heavy doors that are inflammable so that if there's a fire, it won't go past that point. And these people are trapped between them. I'm like, wait a second. Can a chainsaw cut through a fire door? Yes, it can, actually. So kudos to this film's scientific realism for having a fire door be cut through with a chainsaw.
I cannot give it compliments about its adherence to science at all, regardless of this door and chainsaw.
No, Speed is not about that. Again, I've never been sucked into the reality and the intensity. So this doesn't feel like a betrayal. This feels like they have gone extra. It has become even more so than what it was even before. I suppose the disappointment is that you could just enjoy the ride last time. Again, I think of an amusement park ride. It felt like running a Ferris wheel or maybe a roller coaster. Whereas this thing, it definitely doesn't have that velocity. It definitely doesn't move with the speed of the original movie. But I think it's just as absurd. I think it is just as inventive. And I think that the scenarios that it comes up with are just, again, Sandra Bullock with a chainsaw, that I'm laughing.
I said with Speed, don't bring logic into it because when you think about it, it is very silly. The thing is, it doesn't give you time to really think about it. I didn't really think of issues until like after the film when I was reflecting back on it. Like, okay, what about this? Like I said, who cares about any of those bus passengers? And that's why you throw Sandra Bullock in there so there's an actual love interest and you're actually invested. Like, everyone's going to evacuate this ship except for like maybe 20 people. people and they're like, oh, we can't jump off because we'll get sucked under. You won't get sucked under. I don't care about 20 people on this ship. Like, it will crash. You'll probably be fine. It's a big ship. Go hide in the back or something when it hits those cliffs.
So what happened? Like, here's what I don't understand. That is an enormous ship. Is it like Titanic? They just didn't have enough lifeboats? They go from like, all right, everyone go up to the deck, get to the lifeboat, to like Sandra Bullock gets there and like, this is the last one. And they're all dangling from it. I'm like, how? What? How? Where are the other people? Are there like hundreds of lifeboats floating around that we just never see?
They're all in the ocean. Yes, there are.
Yes, there are. We see a couple other boats and a couple dinghies.
Never. We never see anybody else. We saw no one leave here.
Yeah, we do.
Everything is about dropping this one escaped lifeboat. And yeah, they do what they did in Titanic. It starts to tip on it and it gives Jason Patrick a reason to jump around like a monkey on it and save the ship photographer.
Ugh.
See, it was making me think of Titanic because Annie and Alex get to that boat and Alex is like, you get on the boat. I'm going to go back. And he knows something's up with Geiger, and Tamura Morrison drops a line about we don't know what he's capable of. So Alex is going to run back onto that boat, making me think of all the times in Titanic that Rose is told to get on the boat while Jack goes back into the boat.
I'm sure they knew about each other. Again, with them both shooting at Fox, I'm sure that Jan De Bont was, again, it was a troubled production. Everyone knew that Titanic had all of these problems and the script had leaked, and they would have known to avoid it, or maybe they thought they were copying it. Again, they thought they were going to be a competitor. Titanic was supposed to come out the same summer, and so it's crazy to think that this movie and Titanic would have been shown by the same studio within weeks of each other. I can't imagine. But what a double feature.
And what is Alex's motivation to like go and get Geiger? Again, just get on the boat and leave. Like, that ship is going to crash. Who cares?
He's an adrenaline junkie cop.
Not according to this film.
Who insists on inserting himself into places where he's not wanted. He has no authority. He has no jurisdiction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I get that he may have wanted to save the little girl. He did hear that she wasn't there.
He wants to do more than save her.
Yes, I agree. You're right. With the inclusion of Lolita, it all but tells you there's something untoward happening here. But yes, it seems to be after that they have that little whatever. And that looks like fun. Again, you always want to delight me. I love when people are on sets that have the water tanks and they suddenly, like, you're riding a tidal wave. Like, that is always a thrill to watch. In this case, it's Jason Patrick and the little girl, like, ride up the ladder in the gush of water after stupidly. Their plot for slowing down the boat is to flood it, to sink it. Like, okay, well, yes, that will certainly stop the boat from going forward, but it won't help you.
The goal is to slow down the boats, and this is Alex's idea. Alex, who doesn't know boats, doing this despite the objection of the bridge crew.
He's not beach patrol, he's SWAT.
Yes, if you saw Titanic, that is actually why it sank, was that it flooded those very rooms. That is not what you would do. But there's also just like this game of like, and this feels very 90s, like for reasons, I guess because he wasn't watching the Masters and the golf thing, he knows almost instinctively it's Geiger, right? That's not a thing for him to deduce. He knows Geiger is the one responsible. They storm his room. They find the leeches in the bathtub. And then the computer like blinks, goodbye, Alex. And like, now computers can just like explode. And so like, I feel like a lot of this middle is him like running into areas and having Alex use his, I don't know, he's got like a laptop gun at one point that he can use to close doors on him and set off more bombs. I don't know. I guess anything with wires has the capability of becoming one of Geiger's bombs. And the middle of this movie is Alex. I think at one point he's at the mini mall running from bombs, trying to get through a door that has a grenade on it. Again, Sandra Bullock gets a moment. She saves him by figuring out a way. I think she just grabs the grenade and takes it out of the doorway, but she saves his life.
And she panics. It's Tamura Morrison who really handles that grenade. She's like, take it, take it, take it. And Tamura Morrison, who's there, he was the first mate of the ship, so he's now in charge. And, you know, I didn't know who Tamura Morrison was when I saw this film, and all the stuff I've seen Tamura Morrison in since, all the Star Wars stuff primarily, but every so often something else. I had no memory of him being in here, and he does fine. You know, I have nothing negative to say about him.
I mean, he's as good as Ortiz or whoever. I mean, again, they have not improved that. I will share that my disappointment with this movie is any good disaster movie knows you need to have like an old couple and one of them dies. You need to have a dog or a cat in peril. You play it up even bigger. This movie has a cast that ultimately, yes, sometimes Tamara Morrison is running around with Jason Patric. Sometimes it's the navigator. Sometimes it's the ship photographer. None of those people have chemistry with our two leads.
And the two leads don't have chemistry with each other.
But that part's great. That's what I love. I love watching them not have chemistry and pretend that they do.
Just Sandra Bullock continuously, as she's being saved, still complaining this entire film. Oh,
I love it. I love it. But eventually we do cut to, this is around the time I think Defoe is grabbing the jewels. He also types into his computer what feels like nonsense, word salad, Eindhoven lion. But apparently, if I were more geographically aware, Eindhoven is a city, maybe a port city in the Netherlands. And so maybe you think they're on a crash course to going to Europe, and you would know that they are 5 hours away from what is presumed to be a destination, but will turn out to be an oil tanker.
Yeah, what happened to the cliffs they were supposed to crash into?
No, when they flooded the ship, it changed the destination from the cliffs now to the oil tanker.
Yeah, but Willem Dafoe's got that laptop where he's always fixing stuff and redirecting it.
No, Dafoe very clearly types in, send them to the Eindhoven Lion. So he wants them to hit the oil tanker. Why they didn't go into mountains, I don't know why that would ever be the plan.
They said that before the oil tanker, they said they were going to hit the cliffs.
Yeah.
I heard words. No doubt I heard the words.
And they said that the boat turned, so I don't know what the hell Defoe is doing with his little wrist computer, but that wrist computer's pretty nifty for 1997. I gotta give it that. Laptops were pretty big and thick and chunky back then.
Oh yeah. All of this tech stuff. Again, we were so in love with that. The whole idea of the hacker. Again, it's so trendy that he's a disgruntled IT person. And, I believe it. Again, he sells it. I love it. I think it's hilarious.
What I think is hilarious is, they're on the bridge going, we're going 18 knots. All right, I don't know that. I had to Google this. That's 20 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. This movie is called Speed.
I looked this up because they're going to make such a big deal at the end. 10 knots, 9 knots. I'm like, is that like 20 miles an hour per knot? Yeah, 1.15. This is The Last Jedi, just the slowest film. Now, look, maybe this makes sense if it was called Force because mass times acceleration. This is a big boat. There's a lot of force being built up, but not speed. Wrong physics element.
Right. Even more hilarious, people should see it coming. This is not it's not coming fast, and it is so very large that I don't know how you could not notice, hey, gee, that cruise liner is coming awfully close to shore. Maybe we should get out of the way.
They call out that it takes 30 minutes to start up the engines for that oil tanker.
Sure.
But yeah, they never try to shoot a flare, try to get their attention. The captain on the oil tanker, doesn't notice them till they're way too close.
No, the plan is, again, this is the genius of Jason Patric. Why don't we throw a bunch of rope into the propeller and I'll jump in there to help feed it in there so that I can get tangled up and almost drowned. What a brilliant plan.
Yeah, I don't understand that part of it.
Yeah, that's so good.
Just drop the rope into it.
Right. You just drop the rope in. You don't actually have to swim down there and get tangled up in it. Dumb.
I mean, they already said we can't jump off the ship because the propeller will suck us under. Well, it will do the same with the rope. You don't need to take it down there.
Look, I don't understand. Why don't they just keep flooding the thing? The whole thing was going to sink. You can stop real easily. You just flood the fucking boat and go down. How many people are left? You're telling me most of the people left?
20 max.
Yeah, I think it's about 20 people on the boat, both passengers and crew.
If I were heading, these are tough choices and I hope never to be put in them, but if I was heading to certain explosion and multiple lives lost, I would sink the ship and put on a life vest, right?
Yeah, just jump off.
You just jump off and someone will certainly come look and investigate why your giant ass ship just went under and they'll find you.
Yeah, this isn't Titanic. You're in the Caribbean. The water's warm.
Yes, clear. You can see to the bottom.
In fact, when Jason Patrick was underwater, the water was too clear, and Jan De Bont had to refilm those scenes with somebody pouring shit in front of the lens to make it not look so perfect. That's how good the water is.
Yeah. And again, filming on water, that always runs over budget. It's a problem for every movie. Titanic was just one of many. It benefited. Ultimately, you see the money up on screen, but it isn't surprising to me that this thing ran way over budget. And they had the problems that you're talking about, because it is not easy, particularly at an age where they didn't have all the CGI technology to mask all of that. It's not easy. Waterworld, ask anyone, it's not easy to use that medium and not have computer assistance. But I'm grateful. I mean, I am totally serious. When I say this next half hour makes everything worth it, it makes everything worth it to watch this boat come into shore.
So, because of the rope in the rudder, or what is it exactly that does get the boat to finally turn?
No, he swims underwater with the photographer, and they take turns like turning something, manually turning the boat.
Yeah, that's right. They turn the rudder.
That is the best part. It's so hard to turn this tiny little thing. It looks like a water faucet. We'll take turns. I'll do it for 15 seconds.
15 seconds? Learn to hold your breath, man. 15 seconds is nothing.
I mean, how are you guys not busting a fucking gut at this?
Because this is so stupid. It is aggressively stupid.
It's so stupid! I love it!
Yeah, because I'm mad. I'm actually angry at this film. I am pissed off.
It's lovable. How could you be angry?
And again, I think a lot of the blame is Jason Patrick. I hate his performance here. Like, he has no charisma.
Oh, he's so wrong. Oil and water. Yes, he doesn't belong here.
Yeah, if this was... we talked about Tom Hanks in the last one. This is Tom Hanks. I might be going with it.
Yeah, I feel like if this were not Speed, and they weren't trying to think of a fake Keanu, you wouldn't have had this be the star. You would have had somebody that would have been like the captain, or I don't know, someone that was maybe afraid of the water and didn't want to get wet again. Or, you always play up the melodrama. You always make these incredible, ridiculous character arcs. And it's just such camp fun to watch people do that. Usually a B celebrity do that. So much fun. Again, one day we will do Concorde 1979, the greatest disaster movie that will ever be made. I just can't even. We'll get there.
I may have to opt out if you're finding this amusing, and that's what I'd have to look forward to. I may have to just opt out of a disaster film retrospective series, because I think I'd have more fun at a colonoscopy than I'm having at this film. This movie is dull as shit and poorly acted, and even when two boats are colliding, when the cruise ship is sideswiping the oil tanker, there's no fun in it for me.
It's hilarious. They're turning a water faucet and steering out of the way and scraping each other. That's hilarious.
I mean, I agree with you, Stuart. This part is pretty funny. Someday, when we do our board game retrospective, perhaps we could do Battleship, where an entire battleship also drifts, much like this cruise ship, and it is amazing. So I did laugh, just because it's, again, aggressively stupid. But this time, yeah, I'm able to go with it because it's so silly. I don't find a lot of the extras in this funny or entertaining. I know what they're trying to do. But this, drifting cruise ship to sideswipe the oil tanker is so dumb. It put a smile on my face.
And what happens next is even, again, I mean it when I say this, it's worth the price of admission just to watch the boat go through the dock. You got to admit, Arnie. I hear you're mad, and I get that it is not Speed and maybe even a betrayal of the movie last week. But throw all of that away and watch the next 15 minutes, and it's pretty goddamn amazing to see this level of destruction.
I think my arms are fully crossed by the point that this boat is ramming into St. Martin's. First of all, I'm thinking so many people are being killed in St. Martin's that you would have been better off just crashing into the oil tanker and sacrificing the 10 people on the oil tanker or the 20 people on the cruise ship. But then, yes, it is impressive looking. It goes on.
Yes!
For a long time, too.
Good! I wouldn't want it to be short.
How long is this dock? Yeah.
Yeah, what are you talking about? How dare we see rampant destruction for 5 minutes straight? Are you kidding me? That is what we came for.
Yeah, no, I knew about this scene. There's a popular YouTube channel where they break down special effects stuff, and they've talked about this. Like, they built a boat, like, not the whole boat, but, like, the front of the boat, and this is a set. Like, they are really crashing a big old boat that's then extended with CGI, like, into real stuff.
Yes. I will say there are some CGI shots. There's one very clear that the boat is computer generated. Doesn't look great. But again, mostly, if all you're here is just for carnage, destruction, killing people, I hear Arnie suddenly, you don't want to see that. I want to see that. I love this.
Yeah, if that's what you want in your disaster movies, come in 1 hour and 45 minutes into this one.
Correct. Pay the price for the ticket to just watch this. And you have, the child. You always have the child that sees the thing coming and mommy doesn't want to listen to it. And the realtor that's selling them the condo that's about to be flattened is talking about the eggshell white on the walls. I mean, again, this stuff is, it's eye rolling, I suppose, if you're hater mentality. But if you love this genre, this is gold.
It is a really well done special effect. I also saw what Jacob saw about how they built the front of a boat and really rammed it into fake buildings that they built. They did a lot of work into this. I think it mostly looks good, but it's just not exciting is the problem. So I'm watching it and I'm intellectually approving while I'm not feeling anything. And the whole thing about Speed was it made me feel.
Yeah, that I don't understand. Again, I wasn't adrenalized by Speed. I thought it was very hard to care about what happened, but it was fun. And that is doubly true here. There's no scene in Speed that's as good as this boat going through the dock.
What's crazy is this is when Sandra Bullock, should be like sitting there complaining as they're like crashing through here. But she's stuck with Willem Dafoe because we got to resolve that, I guess. Like, I don't know, just let him go and end the film.
I guess.
Yeah, again, like the last film, remove all of her agency. She's a damsel in distress. Let's go. I feel so bad for Sandra Bullock. I guess she got $12 million, so I shouldn't feel bad.
Don't feel bad.
Yeah, don't feel bad for her. She's doing just fine.
But you know what? Forget Sandra Bullock, but I feel bad for Annie in this film. I feel bad that she's stuck dating Alex.
Mm-hmm.
I think she'd be better off dating Geiger if she could have found that way to work at the bar.
She got a lot of jewels. Alex has one ring, and she's got like 20 in the bag.
I feel bad that this is all her character is given to do, and here, I guess she does one thing. She realizes they're in like a dual sea-doo, like a tandem sea-doo or something.
They're like connected, yeah.
Yoked, like, because why would you do that? Like, you never would. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, but yes, I guess who's in control if you're yoked together? I don't know. It seems like a real fight about which direction to go to. But couples maybe do this? I don't know.
And maybe there's a button so you can get rid of the other half of your couple if he says something bad, because she pulls a lever and cuts Willem Dafoe loose.
Which, he's right next to the plane. He could just leave. Like, he does not need Annie at this point. I don't know why he spends time trying to get her. That ruins everything. Their plane is right there. But Stuart, this film did get me to have a legit laugh at one point. And during this whole chase, Toon Man, what's his name, Maurice? He returns, like, he's got his boat, and that's going to get taken by Jason Patrick, and that made me chuckle. Like, if we do have a Speed cinematic universe, Toon Man's got to show up every time in a different vehicle.
Yes, he was on the LA freeway on that fateful day, and his sports car was totaled. I failed to mention, not only did the door get taken off, but then he spins out.
He crashed, yeah.
Why do they have canisters of water at all of the exits? Is that a thing?
In real life, those are sand, and they're to slow down your impact so that you don't impact against cement and die.
Ah, okay.
Water's more cinematic, though, to see it splash.
Okay. Well, anyway, the poor man has come down to nurse that loss in the Caribbean, bought a new condo.
He has a Toon Man boat. The boat's name is Toon Man again. In case you caught that license plate.
He's got to have a motorcycle, a Zeppelin, all saying Toon Man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm loving this.
When I first watched this film, I did not remember him from Speed 1. I'm glad that we're watching these back to back so that I could go, oh, they brought him back.
Yeah, he is. But here at the end, and happy to serve. Would it mean more if he recognized Keanu Reeves? He has no relationship with Jason Patrick. Nobody does. But he's happy to help out here.
I'm just waiting for Annie or Toon Man, someone to say, yeah, the Bruce Willis thing, like, I can't believe this is happening to me again. Like, I just needed that moment of self-reflection because this seems like a very weird thing to happen to Annie all the time.
Toon Man does say something like that. He does say, like, again, and I have PTSD and needed therapy from the last time you guys did this. When Alex reveals he's LAPD, Toon Man does get that brief moment.
Yeah, I agree. It's enough. And yes, he does get him close enough. Is it a fishing rod or a, I don't know, grappling hook?
Harpoon gun. Yeah.
It is a harpoon? Okay. Suddenly, Jason Patrick is hanging off the back of a seaplane taking off. And Annie's being head smashed into the console while Defoe is cackling and flying away. And I don't know what happens. In the end, the two lovers, the leg of the plane falls off and they just write it down. I don't know why.
The harpoon caused it to get loose, I guess, when it was dragging Jason Patrick.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that could happen.
Only on a bad plane, but...
And then Geiger's just going to crash into that tanker. That tanker's going to blow up no matter what.
It had to. And what an explosion. Can I just say that It is really amazing to watch that tanker explode. Jan De Bont, no spectacle.
And like the last film, they're going to make sure you know there were no casualties because this time the crew was able to escape. I don't know why they couldn't get on the lifeboat when the cruise ship was coming at them, but this time they're all able to get on the escape raft. And Willem Dafoe, God love him, his cackle when that airplane gets caught on the spire and he's just laughing and laughing while the gasoline is pouring out of his airplane and then the explosion comes. If there's one shining jewel in this movie, it's not what's stolen, it's Willem Dafoe in an airplane.
And those jewels are stolen. It's worth noting that Maurice finds the bag in international waters.
Yeah, they fell out.
Yeah, so I guess we shouldn't feel bad for him.
They didn't fall out. Annie threw them out.
Yeah.
But the point is, he can pay for his condo, his car, and then some.
Yeah, is Maurice keeping those? Wasn't Alex there? I thought for sure he was going to take them, but I guess he doesn't.
He's busy proposing finally to Annie. He was going to pull out his own ring.
You know Annie's going to complain about that ring. She just saw a bunch of diamonds. She ain't going to be happy with that.
She's got a lot to complain about, including her franchise. I think it's really fallen apart around her. She's not even going to pass her driver's test. We're get an end stinger where Tim Conway comes back and, I don't know, the sound design tells me they drive off screen and maybe die.
I hope so. Then we won't get any more of these.
We didn't.
So pop quiz hotshots. Do you recommend Speed 2 Cruise Control? Jacob.
Yeah, Stuart, again, I recognize that this is some failed attempt, I'll say, at a disaster film. And that is the surprise, is I didn't think Speed was a disaster franchise. You could say you saw that in that first film, but to me, it's about moving fast and doing stunts with vehicles, and that's what Speed is about. It's not about antics on a cruise ship. And so I'm thinking about, how do you fix this thing? And, it seems like the easy one is you get Keanu, you do not have Jason Patrick, but even if you solve that problem, you still have Sandra Bullock's lines, that's all got to be rewritten. She is so unlikable in this film, just constantly complaining. So you rewrite that. Then you still have this weird villain obsessed with leeches sucking out copper from his blood. Well, maybe you keep that. That's actually kind of great.
Mm-hmm. You do. I wouldn't get rid of that.
Then you still have the problem that this is on a cruise ship, something that, look, I'm scared of cruise ships because I'm antisocial, the alcohol's expensive, lots of germs going around, but that's not the dangers of this cruise ship. This one doesn't seem dangerous at all. It's very slow, going 20 miles an hour. This is a speed film. Nothing about this. If you're coming here because you love that 1994 film like Arnie and I, there's a whole lot of disappointment here, and it's not any one thing that you could really blame. It is just a series of failures stacked on top of each other. This is, maybe in 20 years, I'll be able to come back to this without Speed in my mind and enjoy it the way you did, Stuart, but I cannot recommend Speed 2 Cruise Control.
Stuart.
Yeah, I agree. You're going to hate this thing if you thought the movie last week was a classic. If you thought that was great, this is not great. And I think it shows that at every given moment. But again, not unlike Keanu, I feel like the message we heard incessantly was turn off your brain. And if you do that, if you forget the tie to the other movie, if you forget, again, I think it's fun to write absurdity. This is another contraption that Jan De Bont has created that is bigger, grander, more spectacular in its destruction, more stupid in its plotting, in all ways, to me, has more to offer in terms of comedy. It is part of that subset. Again, it blows your mind to think that those movies used to be respectable and are now laugh riots. It is Poseidon Adventure 2. I mean, it does feel like that is the blueprint. And I also get a kick out of watching Sandra Bullock try to drag this barnacle around and pretend that Jason Patrick is Keanu Reeves. I think that Willem Dafoe with the leeches and his computers and his golf balls, all of this it's not wall-to-wall laughs. I have fun reflecting on this movie. I admit there are pacing problems. All bad movies have them. The laughter stops and you're feeling like it's a little bit sluggish in the middle. There are not enough to do with the supporting characters. They should have had Tamara Morrison and some of the crew and passengers do wackier things, but they thought that they needed to make a movie that told us Jason Patrick, Sandra Bullock are in love, and that became too much of the focus. But no, Speed 2 is not a good film. I have a good time watching it. I have a good time heckling it. My sentiments aren't that different from the original, actually. In the end, not unlike a Caribbean cruise itself. It's tacky, it's loud, it's embarrassing, and you'll probably get a little sick on it. But if you surrender to the charms, I don't think you're going to have a bad time. I think that you will be surprised at how much wanton destruction and camp laughter is to be had in the supposed terrible movie. It's a Brown Arrow recommend.
I think Arnie's in pain.
I can't even. I just can't even after that. Even a Brown Arrow is too good for this movie.
Someone really disliked it.
You admitted you laugh at this movie. Don't give me that. You've already said you like Willem Dafoe.
I like Willem Dafoe during the first 30 minutes of this movie, when he's really just using his computers and doing a one-man show and putting leeches on his body. But there's still 95 more minutes of this movie after that first half hour that I have to suffer through, where he's just running through hallways and holding up a computer like a gun and complaining about his previous employer. So much complaining in this movie, and I'm going to continue the complaining because I'm going to complain during this strong not recommend. I mean, even the disaster at St. Martin, which cost apparently half this film's budget, even that cannot make this film recommendable at all.
No, just watch that on YouTube.
Yeah, you'll get as much enjoyment there because there's no characters here to cling on to. I dislike Annie, who I liked so much in the last film. I absolutely hate Alex. I find him a sucking void of charisma. He is the opposite of screen presence.
Does he leech your energy?
Not to mention, doing something with a child that probably shouldn't happen.
You do not put Lolita in this film. Like, why is that in here?
It's crazy.
No, it is really creepy. No, this film shouldn't exist. I wish it had never been made, and it is the strongest of not recommends. I hate this movie.
So, I'll ask, Speed 3, reboot, what do you do?
Believe it or not, Keanu and Sandra Bullock have both said in recent years they'd be open to it if the script was good.
Well, it won't be. It never has been, and it's not going to be good. Haven't they made movies together since? Didn't they make something about a lake house?
Yeah, they communicate through a mailbox.
Okay, so that we've had that. We can see them on screen again. But to do this a third time, what I hear part of the struggle is that there's no good way of making the same scenario feel adrenalized in the same way. If you put it on a hot air balloon, where could this go that you would accept?
After Speed 2, it can go to hell.
Right, and it could. I mean, they might, I think Keanu's done Constantine. Yeah.
Well, Bill and Ted did that, but...
I mean, I think that's an option. Yes, it could go there. It could be fun.
To me, it's all about the camera work and the action that Jan De Bont delivered so much in that first film. I think I'd be better with a reboot than I would a Speed 3. Forget Keanu, forget Sandra Bullock. You can reboot this and come up with another scenario. Maybe put it in a different city because the first one did LA so well. But another careening bus is a better idea than Speed 3.
It's not a good idea, though, right?
It's got to involve like an Uber or something.
Yeah, I mean, even you spitballing that, you got to be like, yeah, I don't actually really want to see that. That sounds like a bad film.
No, but I want it more than the reunion of Bullock and Keanu.
But you don't want it. Like, there's nowhere to go, is what I would actually argue. Was there was never any there to begin with. There was nothing to hold on to other than the way that the ride was constructed. And Jan De Bont, again, his directing career is gone. Like, he hasn't made a movie in decades, in part because after this movie, it didn't get any better. The Haunting, Tomb Raider 2, like, it stopped for him. And was he ever a good director? Maybe not. But he certainly made 2 films, I would argue, that have a lot of amusement. But good? No. I wouldn't call Speed a good franchise. There's nothing you could take that would feel inspired about bringing back. And whenever they tried the rip-offs, I think about Chill Factor. Remember that one? Cuba Gooding Jr. had to keep a bomb frozen. If it got over a certain degree Celsius, it blew up.
No.
Yeah, it was in an ice cream truck.
The only good ripoff is Crank. That's it.
You're right.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, I mean, we're going to be talking about Jan De Bont's Twister next week. I also thought that was a dead franchise. I could have never imagined, ever in a lifetime, that they would decide to make a sequel almost 30 years later for that film. So who knows? Maybe they do something like that with Speed, a legacy sequel. Keanu has a cameo or Bullock has a cameo.
I mean, yes, they definitely could, and they probably will. And I'm not there for it. It's not something I want to see. There's nothing about that.
Yeah, they came up with a fun gimmick for one movie. I don't need a whole franchise out of that.
Great word, gimmick. It's a gimmick film that proved Jan De Bont could make movies, and then he made a bunch of other movies that proved he should make movies.
Yes.
And the only determinant is, I think we covered his whole resume, is Twister a good movie? I guess we'll have that debate next week.
In the meantime, if you are a platinum level donor or patron, we are concluding our X trilogy of reviews with the new release, Maxine. It came out in theaters last Friday. Our review will be out for platinum donors and patrons this Friday. So speed over to nowplayingpodcast.com. Click the banner there at the top for our spring summer 2024 donation drive. Help keep Now Playing podcasting and get reviews. We already did the first 4 Crow films. We'll be doing the 5th Crow film a little later on, and then you can hear the reviews of the X trilogy if you go platinum or higher.
Yeah, really excited to see how this winds up. It's one of the most, you talk about creative sequels. This is the most weird connecting 3 films I can think of, and I have no idea what Mia Goth is going to do this time, but I can't wait to see what she cooks up.
So thank you for listening to Now Playing. We're not going to stop.
That's it? That's it?
That's all we can do.
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review.
Sure hope somebody got that on tape.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
Way to go, Jack. Way to go.
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
Here's to you guys for doing your job and for not getting dead.
Want more reviews like this one? In the archives section of NowPlayingPodcast.com, you'll find more than 1,000 in-depth movie reviews from our panel of hosts.
Hey, don't forget about us.
On our site, you can hear reviews for every installment in the world's biggest film franchises, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Star Wars, Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, James Bond, Middle-earth, Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, and Transformers.
There's enough C4 on this thing to put a hole in the world.
Plus, we have individual movie reviews, such as Titanic, E.T., Inception, Big Hero 6, Ready Player One, Pulp Fiction, Apocalypse Now, Dr. Strangelove, and hundreds more.
Interactive TV, Jack. Wave of the future. Ha ha ha, huh?
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
You still don't get it, do you, Jack? Huh? The beauty of it.
Support from listeners like you keeps Now Playing Podcast on the air.
I want money, Jack. I wish that had some loftier purpose, but I'm afraid in the end it's just the money, Jack.
You can donate directly by tapping the support button at nowplayingpodcast.com.
No, this is about me. This is about my money. This is about money due me, which I will collect.
And you can join our crowdfunding campaign for early access to new episodes, exclusive reviews, and bonus reviews available for a one-time contribution.
Do you listen? Do you ever...
Need more Now Playing? Subscribe to our In Focus weekly newsletter for exclusive digital download giveaways, behind-the-scenes insights, and more. Sign up through the subscribe page on our website and get it delivered to your inbox every Friday.
I was just trying to make conversation.
You can also compare notes with us on Letterboxd. Go to letterboxd.com/nowplaying to see what our hosts are watching when we're not recording podcasts. And follow Now Playing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel.
This guy's out of his mind.
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
Who is running the ship? Oh, yeah, I am.
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
Don't fuck with Daddy.
Now Playing is edited by Heath, Santiago, and Arnie.
This is taking way too long.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
Who is this?
Someone you should start listening to.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
I think we have trust.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein. All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review, and no infringement is intended.
There are rules, Jack, and I want you to get this right.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
Guts will get you so far and then they'll get you killed. Luck runs out sooner or later.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2024, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Was it good for you?
Oh, it's great for me. Or was it for you?
I mean, I got a phone in my pocket all the time, a mini computer. We're all in danger of copper cancer.
Why do you think
I'm
I have
covered in
leeches
right
on me right now?
You're just copying me, Arnie.